Hi everyone, my name is AJ and I would like to share a story of something amazing that happened to me just a few days ago. The message behind this testimony is far greater than the actual events. The way everything panned out and unfolded could have only been done by God and His will. So I really wanted to share it to inspire or give hope to those of you that are facing or will face hardship in life. I like to call it my 3-day mini miracle. So the first miracle that took place was that I was journaling everything. And I think I've mentioned a few times in youth that I don't really like journaling because I feel like it takes too much time and I can never really get all my thoughts on paper. So with no expectation of where this was going, I just felt like I had to write it down. So how it starts is that I have a chemistry teacher and we all know this of him. He's just very strong-willed, but we've all grown to adapt to this and get used to it. So one day I was checking my grades and I saw a mistake in one of my grades. So I decided to send my chemistry teacher an email just pointing it out. Then he emails me back and he simply brushes off what I said and just disregards the whole problem. And I was really hurt and angry, and then the issue no longer became about the grades. And I just kept thinking, why am I the only one with this problem? I worked so hard in this class and it's just not paying off. This isn't fair. It just doesn't make any sense and he's still not listening to me. My feelings were hurt mainly. So on the spot, I was tempted to type up a rash email, but then I remembered what we learned in the leadership course. We learned that when emotions are high, then wisdom is low. So I decided to step away and maybe give it a day or two and then come back and email him back later. After that, I considered just letting go of the problem because I just kept thinking there's no way I can get to him. On one hand, I felt really silly fighting for a better grade because I already had a great grade in the class. But on the other hand, the problem just felt so obvious that I felt like I had to point it out. I was just really uncertain and confused. I was ready to just lose hope and I was really frustrated and angry. So, as you do, that evening I was praying and worshiping. And then at one point, I put my hand straight up over my head and I could just so vividly see God putting his hands down from heaven and grabbing onto me. Like I could just feel him holding onto me from heaven. And I just kept hearing him say, hang in there, hang in there. So afterwards, I literally Googled, what does hang in there mean? Because I wanted to have the exact definition because I knew this meant something. So hang in there means to remain persistent and determined in difficult circumstances. Then I knew I could not back down from my chemistry teacher. I could just feel God telling me to remain persistent and determined despite the circumstances. So with emotions down, I decided to send him another email. But he continued to shut me down and just brush it off. So Friday morning comes around and I was just in a really bad mood. The thing was just consuming my mind so much that I didn't even want to go to youth that evening because I didn't know if I would be paying attention or if I'd be open to listening to anything. But then I could just hear God telling me that I had to go. So again, without thinking anything of it, I just followed God's directions blindly. So I went to youth that evening and in worship, I just kept hearing the word peace coming back to me. And I was wondering why. What does peace have to do with my situation right now? Then afterwards, we were sharing words of knowledge and I was just praying that God would send someone to say something for me. I just wanted to know that he was hearing me calling out to him and that he knew that this problem was truly bothering me and that I was discouraged. That's when Maddie gave me her word of knowledge. She said that she saw a field of pink flowers, and that's when I knew that the word peace had some significance. Afterwards, I was looking further into the word of knowledge and I found Matthew chapter 6 verse 28. It reads, "And why do you worry about clothing? See how the flowers in the field grow. They neither labor nor spin." So God was just telling me, why are you worrying about this problem? You don't need to worry anymore. I will take care of everything, like I take care of the flowers in the field. So I found peace with the situation. It was truly amazing. It simply didn't worry me anymore. I sent out my last email and I was not going to dwell on the matter anymore. Looking back at it now, it was a bit odd that first God told me to be persistent and determined, and then he told me to just let go of it and find peace. But I didn't even think about that until after. The whole time I was just following God blindly. The fact that I found peace at all was a miracle in itself because I am one to constantly dwell on things. So then Sunday morning came around and I was completely fine. I was completely at peace and I was so grateful that it was not bothering me anymore and I was going on with my life. And note, when I prayed about all of this, I never prayed that my grade would be improved or that my teacher would finally listen to me. All I prayed for was that God's will would take place and that I would have peace of mind. Then, out of nowhere, I get an email from my chemistry teacher. Something else about me, I am one to overthink a lot. Like I will think of every scenario that could derive from an event. But then, getting this email, I didn't think anything of it. I didn't have any expectations in the back of my mind, so I simply opened the email. So this email was sent by my chemistry teacher to all of his classes. He starts it out by apologizing for a mistake that he made in the gradebook, and he says that he's fixed it. And then he says this: "Thank you so much, AJ, for her advocacy on this issue. She's been politely and respectfully communicating with me for the past few days. If it wasn't for her, you guys would have all received lower grades than you earned this school year. So thank you so much to AJ." I was speechless. This was the same teacher that was telling me there's nothing I can do about it and you got what you deserved. I never could have seen this coming. But none of this was my doing. God first told me to be determined and persistent despite the circumstances, and that he reminded me not to be emotional and rude. Later, he made me come to youth and kept bringing peace back to me in worship. Then he sent Maddie to give me that word of knowledge, and then he miraculously helped me find peace. Because I listened to him and followed him pretty much blindly and acted directly on everything that he told me to do, he rewarded me, and I didn't even ask for it or expect it at all. Imagine if I wasn't persistent or polite, then my chemistry teacher may not have gone back to check his mistake in the gradebook. And imagine if I went to go rant to my friends and family about the problem afterwards when God told me to find peace. None of this could have happened. And it wasn't even about my grade, because the change wasn't even that drastic for me. But the fact that everyone else's grades were messed up too, maybe God needed me to do this for someone else. Maybe this was the difference between a pass and a fail for them. And this was also a teaching opportunity. God showed me how amazing things can come from yielding to his will and also having peace of mind, as well as breaking my bad habits. So I hope that this story will inspire or remind you that God can use us in amazing or even minor ways if we're open to it and we listen for him. And we really should raise a hallelujah when we're in our lowest places. But most of all, we need to stand strong and not be weary in our values and our teachings, and we will be rewarded. Thank you for listening.